Welcome to Blubrry Podcast Statistics Demo Part 3. In this demo, let's explore where your listeners are. The platform's geolocation data gives you a worldwide breakdown of your audience. At a high level, you'll see a world map or listing showing which countries your downloads are coming from. Hover over each country to see where the listeners are and where they're tuning in. You can easily spot your top countries. We actually provide the top 10 in the default list. And for paid stats users, you get an export of every country. But for all of our hosting customers, this data is available standard. But again, you can easily spot your top countries. For many, the United States might be number one. And you can look at how your content is consumed. And as a reminder, you can set a date range to look at a period of time, or you can look at specific episode data to get more granular information. It's all kind of like an onion. All the data that is on the top level view is allowed to be driven down as you narrow your search. Blubrry doesn't stop at country level. For the US, it even breaks down listens by Nielsen's DMAs, designated marketing areas. Basically, major metro regions, which breaks down into 399 different markets in the United States. There are also individual maps for Canada, Mexico, Brazil, Germany, and UK is a little special. We don't actually have a map, but we do have a list of all the local areas in the UK. All of this data can be down individually for each country or as a global look. All is available via spreadsheet download. Geo Insights is not just a tool to see, but when combined with listener surveys, we provide you a incredible amount of detailed insight on where your listeners are come from. It helps you tailor shout-outs in episodes or even target marketing. If you know a growing listener base in Canada or Germany, you might mention it on your show or consider region-specific content. Knowing your global reach makes your audience feel real and tangible no matter where they are in the world. I remember a number of years ago, all of a sudden, a single listener showed up in Antarctica. And I was thinking, who could be listening in Antarctica? I did a shout out on my show, and several weeks later, may even been as much as a month, I got an email from that listener say, hey, I'm down here with part of the American study group, part of the scientists wintering over in Antarctica, and I take your podcast with me out on the ice, so there's some form of entertainment, and I can learn while I'm away from all connected devices. And I thought that was pretty cool. Now, just as important as where they listen is how they listen. Blubrry stats show you the breakdown of apps, devices, operating systems, and even website traffic through which people play your podcast. In practice, this means you can see if most of your audience is on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or maybe a good chunk listen via your embedded web player. You'll also discover what devices they use. And are they mostly on iPhone, Android phones, or desktops? This will give you an indication of the demographic that you may need to market to. If you don't have many Android phone users, maybe you need to start doing shout outs on the show and describing on how they can subscribe to the show. And along with device type, you'll see the operating system, whether on iOS, Android, Windows, etc. For example, you might find that 70% of your listeners use iOS, which likely means that many are using the Apple Podcast app, versus say 25% on Android. And if you actually are at 25% Android, you're doing very well. The website data tells you if people are clicking play on your website, if you're a Blubrry hosting customer, or coming from another site to listen. All this tech info helps you ensure your podcast is optimized for where your listeners are. If you see most are on mobile, you'll know how to check that your podcast mobile experience is smooth. If a lot of listeners use a particular app, you might pay attention to how your show notes or metadata appear on that app. It's about meeting your audience where they are and understanding their listener habits. This is the end of part 3 of a multi-part series on Blubrry podcast statistics. Continue and watch part 4.